What's happening, everyone? Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Miata Turbo Project. Today, we have one task that we want to achieve, and that is to finalize the plumbing for the front mount intercooler. Let's get to work. Alright, so right now we're going to work on firming up the mounting of this intercooler. So with the isolators, there's going to be a little bit of some play, as you can see here. So we're going to add another bracket to mount on the bottom two bungs, so that way it'll be a little bit more sturdy from the bottom and have fixed mounts, and then have some play at the top. I'm thinking we'll run this across like that and then up, and use an existing mount for some of the AC components. So let's take some measurements and fab it up. Now the brackets are kind of long, and it's spanning this way, so I think though will give us the opportunity to add some ducting to cover this large gap between the radiator and intercooler. Ducting is always a really good thing, especially if you're planning to track your car, as it helps, force the air go through the radiator after it's gone through the intercooler. So anyways, let's get back to work and cut this up. Well, the chop saw makes quick work of this type of material, so anyways, we're gonna have to add a slight angle to it just because the mount isn't completely straight, so it has to curve and then go up. So this is after putting in a vise and bending it pretty clean, and then it'll go like that basically on the bung, and then go up to that bracket, and then we'll make our first hole for the top part of the bracket. So after fitting this on the top part, marked where I want the hole for the bottom bracket, and we'll drill that out and then mount it. Alright, so here's what the finalized bottom mount looks like. Just basically bent this bar stock to the previous AC mount, and then attached it to the bottom of the intercooler with a little spacer. I think it looks pretty clean, and it definitely sturdied it up a bit. Now we're just going to repeat for the other side. Alright, we'll just finish up both mounts, and this thing feels mint. It's barely moving. There's some play at the top, which is what I wanted, just to absorb some of those vibrations. But yeah, it looks awesome. What do you guys think? Now I'm going to put the bumper on and see how this intercooler looks behind it. The intercooler is just filling up that space really nicely, and in terms of centering it, I think we nailed it. Alright, so now that we're done mounting the intercooler, we can move on to the piping. I ordered all of these components from siliconeintakes.com. I'll list out exactly everything I purchased. But just to give you a quick rundown, I have a few reducers to go from 2 inches to 2.5 inches. Reason being is I decided to go with 2-inch piping from the outlet of the turbo, just because I felt like the clearance would be better. So I'll need a few of these, and then I have 2-inch straight unposed connectors, and then we obviously have our 290s, and then a 90-degree coupler for the turbo, and then a few straight sections. This is 1 foot and this is 2 feet. I think the 2 feet is going to be overkill, but I guess better safe than sorry when it came to ordering. And then I have all of my T-bolt clamps right here. So yeah, let's get started. I was just playing with this straight section right here, and I honestly don't love the upward angle that Belcher is putting it at. So I think I'm actually going to remove the intake for now and rework that, just because I want this to be as low as possible. So even after tilting this as far down as I can, it's still just a little too close to the hood for my liking. So I want to drop the radiator a little bit lower so that this pipe could sit pretty much flush against this panel right here. So yeah, let's lower the radiator, and we'll probably have to modify the brackets. And this is what happens when you have lovely rusty hardware. It just snapped right off. So we're gonna have to make new brackets anyways, it looks like. Here's the radiator bracket, all rusted up. what I think is I'm going to replace it with some L brackets to hold it on the top. Alright, and here's how it ended up. Here's my L bracket attached to the existing point where the stock bracket was attached. And then I have an isolator right here that basically has studs on it in between and then nuts on both sides. As you can see, it's pretty firm, but it still has a little wiggle just so some of the vibrations and so forth can be absorbed by that. So I think that'll work, and as you could probably tell, the radiator's dropped about 1.5 inches probably. Now let's move on to the piping. Alright, so here's the next snag. I think we're just going to have to make some notches over here so that the pipe doesn't rub against this. As you can see, I've kind of made an outline. And here's the hole after. As you can see, it kind of has like a teardrop shape, slightly enlarged just to have a little bit more breathing room for the piping. And here's the elbow. As you can see, one of the legs is slightly too long. Probably make a cut around here and then add a little bit more for a lip for the coupler. And here it is after making the cut. Looks pretty good. And looks right about lined up with the intake manifold. Alright, well, after shortening this pipe, as you can see, I've connected with a hump hose connector to this 1 foot piece of straight pipe, connected to the 90-degree coupler on the turbo, and it looks mint. So now we just have to finish up this side. We're going to just need a much shorter piece of straight pipe right here with our hump hose connector. And for measuring, looks like we'll need like a 5.5 inch pipe to connect these two couplers together. And here's how it turned out. With our piping looking good, I think the last thing we have to do is notch the hood and then see if the hood closes. Well, there's the cut we had to make to clear the piping. As you can see, our piping is complete. We have routed everything exactly how we want it to. Alright, well, to complete our setup in the next video, we're going to have to weld in some bungs. We'll have our IAT bung, which is going to read our intake air temperature, and we're going to keep this outside of the bay as much as possible so we can avoid heat soak. And then we have our blow-off valve bung, as well as our wastegate boost pressure signal bung. So we're going to have to weld those in to finalize this setup, but other than that, our front mount is done. Well guys, we have a pretty slick new front mount intercooler on the Miata, and we just have a few more things to tidy up before we get this thing on the road. So stay tuned, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.